Hi there. Thank you for this project for having me today. My name is Kadhi. I have several hats. I'm the head of CERT Banque de France, which is the French National Central Bank, and I'm also a co-organizer of the BotConf conference. And I'm here as the leader of the TheHive project. And this presentation will go through the integration we did with our security incident response platform and analysis artifact analysis engine with MISP. To get the idea of where I'm getting into is that the fact when, well, as a CERT, obviously we are here as firemen when the prevention fails, which means that we need to be able to detect as quickly as possible, react, then recover from the incident we might have, and share back the different IOCs and artifacts we have collected during the investigation. And all this process is obviously fed by cyber threat intelligence or threat intelligence, if you want to just drop the cyber part of it, because we say so much cyber in a day. Also, given the fact that we are facing a threat landscape that is extremely phase-based, we end up in our SIEM in different IDS or security tools with a high number of security events. If you take that into account and add to it the fact that we are in a situation when there is a talent shortage, at least in my country, France. We have also limited money in time. Obviously, as I'm working for a national central bank, I'm printing the money, but I'm not able to use it, at least as I'd like to. And we are expecting security analysts to be aware of any new technology that Silicon Valley or China these days put forward, like cloud, IoT, or whatever. So basically, we are the same amount of persons, and we need to understand all of this, of course. This brings into the picture the necessity of automating as many things as possible, but also collaborating, because as a team, we need to work together. And this is where MISP, TheHive, and Cortex come into play. And obviously, this is a continuous improvement process because we just cannot stop and take our breath as often as we'd like to. So we have detected, reacted, recovered. So is it time to take a step back and mind other things? No, obviously not, because we need to share. It's our conviction that sharing, of course, is caring. Well, this is like a very, like in any presentation out there put forward by DHS or any one that we'd like to share would say sharing is caring, prevention, my detection is prevention, and so and so. But to some extent, this is true. Because as Alex and others have said on and on, is that by sharing some of the IOCs or all the IOCs that you have collected to trusted peers, hopefully they will come back, they will share back and come back with other IOCs that you have not seen before. And again, we use MISP to that purpose. Now, we have mentioned TheHive and Cortex. What are there? So TheHive is a security incident response platform. It's really built on collaboration. It allows many analysts to work on the same case on the same time. And I will show you later on a typical workflow that everything in TheHive is centered around the notion of a case, and case can be broken down in as many tasks as you'd like to. Through Cortex, it allows you to do analysis of observables, or IOCs, and store them. But it is complementary to MISP. It is not here to replace MISP, because if you need to share those IOCs, you have to have MISP in order to share them. Otherwise, they are just stored locally and for your usage, or to be like kind of history of your CERT or SOC team. to understand the past to build the future. As for the authentication, we support different authentication models, DAP, AD, API keys, and local accounts. And TheHive and Cortex are currently used by several security teams throughout the world. Well, obviously us, but also Saâd. We have a number of other teams like Infineon Technologies in Germany, ANZ Bank in New Zealand and Australia. There are BNP Paribas in France, La Poste Group in France as well. In the United States, I can mention the State Department of Texas, for example. Some are pure cert SOC teams, others are pure threat hunting shops, and so on. As for Cortex, it is analysis engine. It's pretty dead simple. While it has a web UI to allow you to quickly assess, I would say, the maliciousness or have some idea on the observables you are seeing through the investigation, each rather should be used either from TheHive or from another platform through its REST API for automated bulk observable analysis. So, for example, I mentioned some threat hunting shops or threat intelligence shops that use Cortex. Basically, they just throw at it whatever they collect and receive results back and to sort out through the different observables they have collected. So it relies on analyzers, and analyzers can be developed in any programming language that is supported by Linux. Obviously, today we have all the analyzers coded in Python, but you can do it in Ruby, Perl, or whatever you'd like to. And as Alex mentioned in his talk, Cortex has the ability to invoke MISP expansion models, so are not limited to the native Cortex analyzers. But it can also be queried from MISP in order to enrich events. Architecture-wise, so nothing really fancy on the front-end part. TheHive relies on AngularJS and Bootstrap, and the backend is written in Scala, and we store everything in ES5. So just for those who have been using TheHive for some time now, you might have heard us speaking about moving away from Elasticsearch. That this will certainly happen next year as we will be moving to a GraphDB to limit a number of shortcomings we have today, like, for example, the relationships between cases or the ability to extract new observable after you have analyzed existing ones. And also, we are slowly but surely moving toward visualization. And ES has shortcomings that need us to move out of it, from it. Sorry. As for Cortex, it has no storage currently. So if you fire a bunch of analyzers and then you reboot your instance, you read them all. Unless, of course, you use TheHive on another platform that will just grab the result from Cortex and store it in whatever DB or storage system you have. And as I said, the analyzers are written currently in Python, but you can write them in any Linux supporting programming language. As for the workflow within TheHive, the security incident response platform, everything is centered around the notion of a case, as I mentioned earlier. So a case can be created from scratch or using a case template. And a case can be created from what we call an alert. An alert can be created by a SIM, from an email, or from a MISP event. A case is broken down into tasks. So, for example, like communicate with the constituency, analyze the logs within the proxy, and so on. And it has 1, 0, or 1 or many observables. And a task can be broken down into logs. So this is just a rich text editor. So whenever an analyst do something significant in the case, they can write, in the task, they can write what they have been doing. And attach also evidence if they need to. And as for the observables, you can apply one or many analyzers to an observable, which will result in a job. And once it has finished it, using a report template that we provide for free, it will generate an analysis report. I have some examples later on. And we have chosen not to limit the user view of cases or tasks or whatever, so any security analyst have access to all cases, all tasks, all observables, and so on. One of the main features we will be implementing next year at the request of many teams out there is to be able to have some kind of an airbag system where some analysts will be limited to viewing a subset of cases or tasks. Anything that is done in TheHive is, I would say, audited. You have an audit trail that currently you have to use some command line in order Kung Fu in order to get the audit trail. But we are rebuilding the user interface in order to be able to do that graphically pretty soon. Now for the big picture. So how those three open source software fit together. TheHive, as I said, can receive alerts from many sources. It can also, you can also connect it to one or multiple MISP instances in order to pull events. Whenever there is a new or updated event, it will show it up to you. Once you have your alert, you can preview it. By alert, I mean either something that comes from SIM or anything else, or from MISP. You can preview it. You have what we call a proximity notion, where you can see if the alerts under current consideration is related to an existing case. If that's the case, if that's so, you can import it right in the existing case. Or create a new one from a template that you are able to select. And once you have created the case, you start investigating. And when you collect observables, you can submit them for analysis to one or multiple Cortex instances. So TheHive can interface itself with one or many MISP instances and one or many Cortex instances. And Cortex can rely on its analyzers to analyze the observables, or search, or one of the analyzers is what we call MISP search. It's contributed by Saâd, and it allows you to search for an observable in one or many MISP instances. So here. And Cortex can also rely on the MISP extension modules if you need those ones as well. If you are only a MISP shop, you can rely on Cortex to enrich events by leveraging all the analyzers that Cortex supports. And once we have done, you have finished investigating, sharing is caring. So from TheHive, you can export the case, and the observables you have flagged as IOCs, so you can export them to one or multiple MISP instances. So the current version, once you have configured MISP instances in TheHive, so for example, let's say you have three MISP instances, A, B, C, so you are only allowed to import or export from the A, B, or C, or all of them. If you have another MISP instance, say D, it has to be configured, so you have to pull events from it as well. In the next major version, Serrana, which is slated for a release by the end of month, early next month, you'd be able to pick and choose the MISP instances, so you are not necessarily limited by having the same instances for import and for export. So this is a view of the what we call the alert panel. You'll get the slides probably later on the MISP website. So sorry for those in the back. It's not highly clear, but basically here the alerts, whenever there are new alerts, they come here. So this is the type is only MISP. These are basically new events, but if there is an existing MISP event that has been updated, you will see here status as updated. You can preview it, ignore it, or you can ignore it. Like for example, if you have a MISP event and you decide to ignore it once and for all, so any new updates you will not be able to see them, or you just say ignore once. So as the investigation is ongoing and somebody is feeding your MISP event, you are waiting for them to get to a point where you have sufficient indicators to start your investigation. There is one limitation that you have to know about, and this is again due to the way we use Elasticsearch, is that imagine, for example, you have import. So so if, for example, you import this event as a new case, then you import another event as another case. So you have two cases. You work on them, and then you realize later on that they are revolving around the same thread. You have the ability in TheHive to merge them. But once you do that, if you merge cases coming from separate MISP events, you will lose the ability to auto-update the case from your MISP event. Put otherwise, if you import, for example, this one, you keep it separate, whenever there is a new update on the MISP instance, you will automatically receive the new indicators of compromise or attributes that have been added to the MISP event that has related this case. But if you decide to merge that case, which is receiving updates from the MISP instance, with another case, you will sever that connection. So this is a limitation we have currently. As for exporting, so it's quite easy. Up there you have a share button. When it indicates 0, it means that it has not been shared with any MISP instance. But if you decide, like, just going back, so here when you see the list star, that means that this observable has been flagged as IUC. So anything that you have flagged as IUC, when you click the share button, it will be automatically shared. Well, it will suggest a number of MISP instances to export the case as events to. So just click and export on one or several MISP instances. And once you have finished it, you will have the share button that has been updated with the number of MISP instances that have received this case as an event. Please note, when you export an event to MISP, you will have a link that will allow you to go directly to your MISP instance, and from there you have to review the quality of the export and how the event is done, do additional tagging or whatever, and then you publish. TheHive does not automatically publish the events it exports to MISP. You have to review them prior to publishing. As for Cortex, it has currently 27 analyzers. If you go to the GitHub repository, there are maybe 6 or 7, I don't have the proper count currently, that are waiting our approval and as pull request. But obviously you can test them, use them, and if you have tested them, you can say so we can speed up their integration. We have, for example, analyzers for the Circle, PSSL, PDNS services, VirusTotal, Joe Sandbox, Cuckoo Sandbox, that has been contributed by LDO Cert. We have DNSDB, Fish Initiative, and so on, and we have MISP Search. So the current version of MISP Search will allow you to search, has been contributed by the Certbund, will allow you to search in one or several MISP instances at once. So, just to wrap it all up, TheHive is able to import from multiple MISP instances and keep the event you have imported as cases in sync. So whenever the event has been updated, you will receive the observable, the attributes as observables in your case. TheHive can export to one or multiple instances, MISP instances, sorry, and Cortex can search in one or multiple MISP searches as well, MISP instances as well. Those in the black box in the bottom are upcoming analyzers or that are within our approval. Just to show you some screenshot of an analysis example. So when you go to an observable, you can you see the different analyzers that apply to it. Then you can fire one or several at once. When you do so, you, for example, this is an example of Aristotle. So you have the detailed report, but we also use what we call short reports according to a taxonomy. For example, here it says that the following hash has been found in one MISP instance. And of course, if you go to the analysis that corresponds to this MISP search, you will have a link with the details on the MISP record event, sorry. And here it says VT 45 out of 61. So the color changes depending on its informational. It's blue, green it means safe, orange means like suspicious, and red is obviously malicious, and you can change that. One important thing on analyzers is that they care for the TLP. So let's say, for example, you have a hash that is TLP red. You won't be able to submit it to Aristotle. If you have a file that's TLP red, TheHive will extract the hash. So you can submit the hash to Aristotle, but not the file per se. This is user configurable also. So as a recap, besides what I've said earlier, you can also use, currently we have some limited statistics that will allow you to drive your activity. For example, how many time it took you to deal with a specific case, why this task took longer than expected. So maybe it warrants some investigation and automation later on. Maybe you have to create some new analyzer to perform a tedious task. We have implemented a rough version of webhooks, so you can open tickets, for example, in IT ticketing systems. And you have also what we call the real-time stream, so it's like a Twitter-like feed. Whenever a case is created, a task is added, someone takes a task, and so on, or an analysis of an observable has finished, the real-time stream is updated. And we are in the new version 3, codenamed Serana, which, as I said, should come in the next couple of weeks. We will introduce the notion of dynamic dashboards, so you can configure metrics, custom fields, for example, threat actors, whatever, in whatever fashion you'd like to, and have like a nifty images for your management to ask for budget, or really to drive your activity. We have also a number of additional software. So TheHive 4Py is a Python library to create alert cases from multiple sources. So in our constituency, this is what we do, is whenever there is a user that spots a suspicious email, they have a link in their mail client, a button in the mail client, they click on it, it creates kind of a wrapper or around the email with the headers and such. It sends them to a specific mailbox where we have a scrapper that will poll the mailbox and use TheHive 4P to send an alert with the user notification and different pieces of the mail in the alerts, so we can act on it. We also use that for our SIM. So our SIM currently uses email as well whenever there is something new. But for example, for those of you who use Splunk, there is a Splunk app contributed by MISP from Digital Guardian that will allow you to raise alerts in TheHive right from Splunk. Somebody from Enclose also contributed something similar for ElastAlert. And finally, we also provide Cortex for Pi, which allow you to submit observables in bulk through the Cortex RESTful API from alternative platforms or custom scripts in order to analyze observables at scale. This is a usage example. So you can have TheHive getting alerts from different sources, so email reports, SIEM, social media monitor, threat intel provider. Then you can analyze your observables using different Cortex instances. For example, if you have suspicious files, you can submit them to a separate Cortex instance that is sitting on, I would say, separate network for obvious operational security reasons with your sandboxes on them. And you can absorb events from one or multiple MISP instances. So this is one way of using the ecosystem, I would say. As for the software, TheHive, Cortex, and MISP obviously are all available under a free open source AGPL license. As the MISP project provide a VM, we also provide a VM with TheHive Cortex, Cortex for Pi, TheHive for Pi, and everything with the report templates and so on. And TheHive and Cortex can be installed using RPM, Dev, Docker, binary package, or built from the source code. And we have not done serious, I would say, performance testing, but we just use a decent computer, meaning like 60 gig of storage with about 8 gig of RAM and 8 virtual CPUs with TheHive and Cortex, and it works just fine. And you can find additional information on the project, about project, on the TheHive-project.org or MISP-project.org. Do you have any questions for me or comments?
Sorry, can we get a copy of this slide?
Sure.
Yeah. Maybe like.
Anything else? Everything is clear? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I had a question. We have worked on an incident that a lot of things we do here in the tool, we kind of put by hand or Excel lists or other strange tools. And so I'm really looking forward to checking out what TheHive does for me. But one point in time, being missing a little bit, or whether all my documentation can go into TheHive or where my documentation will go. Because in our case, we used the wiki. We just said in the wiki, put everything we learned about all the network and the systems affected and so on into the presentation. Search. So I'm not very sure that would be within one case where we put every host name, every IP.
Yeah, no, you have, well, currently there is no wiki kind of wiki facility within TheHive. So you have to separate wiki or something like that. Or we can, for example, if in your wiki you have, let's say, some kind of a DB with, like, for example, systems, users, departments, whatever, you can easily create a Cortex analyzer. So, for example, if, let's say, you have I would say a username or some kind of a machine name, you can query, this is what we do internally. You can create an analyzer in Cortex that will query your specific DB or wiki to just ask it a simple question. What's the correspondence between this machine name and, let's say, the department or the service, and this is what we do internally. So this is like, we have, I would say, a private system. This is why we have not released the Cortex analyzer that corresponds to that, but this is what we do on a daily basis. It is very easy to do.
If I have a CMDB somewhere which I could
exactly
into.
Yeah, and we just send the request right from Cortex to get the information back. Yeah, go ahead.
You can create alerts from emails, but is there any facility, any feature to, for example, I would create an alert from email from a user.
Okay.
Is there a facility to reply to the user with the response for this notification, something like that?
So currently no, but it's on our roadmap, and we hope to get around to implementing it by June, July next year.
Okay.
So in June, July next year, hopefully, you will be able to answer right from the platform. You don't have to go to your email box to answer.
Okay.
Yeah, the painful thing was we have several different analysis tasks to get a timeline, a common timeline for all events about all analysis. Is that something you can help with? Or that's,
So, like a timeline of events or analysis, etc. So this is what we call the reporting feature. It's again on our roadmap. We don't have it currently, but again, it's slated for next year, Q2. Any other question, comment? Oh, thank you.